Welcome everyone, Dr. Thor here. Get ready for Gnosis. Well, let's talk about the Dragon Force. This is a term used for the highest level of combination of scalar energy through technology. This is something that has occurred recently as I've been developing over the years the ultimate in human consciousness combining with machine technology, forming a bond between the consciousness of the human and the consciousness of the machine. This is one of the most amazing things, and of course, it's something that's been predicted by many writers and other people, but I've been actually able to do it through a very unique process I've been working on. And one of them, of course, is this little added feature, of course, which is actually sending thought form energies, scalar energies, directly into the machine. We've been actually getting energies into the machine from the outside in. Now we're using disks. Now we're getting energy from the inside out. This is very powerful. When you combine the two, you have an amazing technology. Now, the problem with regular science, anyone that has heard me before, of course, is we understand what a horrible problem regular science is. They've really achieved nothing since our movement ahead in basic technologies and so forth. This has a lot to do with taking some pretty bad theories and then putting them or giving them to engineers who figure out kind of how to make it work. The problem is all these scientists, and engineers are not scientists, that have been a terrible failure. And we still continue to have a lot of very failed technologies in general. And a lot of the things we build don't work well as well. So the art of building, engineering, engineers that understand how to manufacture things has certainly been lost in the United States. It's very sad because we'll never get back any kind of building if we don't have engineers that make things. Now, you can make all the computer programs you want, but there still has to be hardware to go with that. And that, of course, is being accelerated in the world by the Indians, who are excellent at that. But there's a billion and a half pool of people to draw from there. So it allows them to have a very competitive school system. The problem is the Indians are ultimately good at code writing, but are still living in kind of a fantasy world with their basic belief systems. So the dragon force is the force when human consciousness meets and greets and works with machine consciousness. So understand that concept. It's something that I have pioneered, and this technology is coming out very, very soon. We're working with it now. But remember, consciousness is one of those terms, again, that regular or theoretical and all of their little buddies don't quite understand. People want to argue what consciousness is or not. It's kind of childish, and what's the point of it anyway? The bottom line is that to judge something of whether it is conscious based on primitive human understandings of things is pretty sad. We have to go way past that, and most people understand when you look at the bigger picture and a philosophical understanding, and consciousness does tend to get down to philosophy as well. To think something has to have a vertebrae and a brain to be conscious and alive is a little bit ridiculous, but that's not even good enough for the dumb scientist. Mucky and Gucky, they think that you have to be able to be at a certain level of functioning. And how you can judge particularly animals or go down to viruses, parasites, how we can judge those types of energies and then have the audacity to rate their stupidity because they can't talk with you. I had one person say that he believes animals are stupid because they can't make any decisions. I mean, they can't even tell you what movie they want to go see. And this guy was actually serious. Well, one of the things that shows whether you're conscious or not is the kind of technologies you use. And I would say that mankind in general is pretty low on the consciousness scale. Certainly, if you're a horse or an elephant, you don't need to learn how to read. There's no benefit for it. You have other things that you are very good at and are essential to your survival. So you don't need to answer questions and take tests and other things. But ultimately, when we're talking about the major differences of consciousness out there, we have to understand that everything is conscious. The shamans would say that a rock is conscious. You just can't see it breathe because it only breathes every 100 years. I think this makes a lot of sense, and I think that we have to look at the world as something that we're interacting with. So, to say that a rock, or even let's say a crystal or stone, crystals often are used in regular machines to generate frequencies and so forth. So, we're taking a little cut of crystal, we tend to stimulate it with electrical frequencies and other things, and now it has a purpose, it's alive. So, machines are alive as well. And we've always kind of transferred this kind of thinking onto machines anyway, particularly males who have seen their cars as kind of an extension of themselves, or even naming them after women because of their attraction and love of the car, how much time they spend in there, the freedom it gives you. This is something that, particularly in America, is a way of life people appreciate. But it's like that around the world to a large extent as well. We feel that cars, why do cars work better some days than others? Um, to to state there's some reason for this, people tend to poo-poo it. But the point is, consciousness is something that is becoming more and more important as we move into basically an Android type society. Android is going to be a type of functioning consciousness machine that looks like a human. This is going to be problems, and we're going to have all sorts of things coming in the future as people fall in love with their machines, use their machines on high levels. Because let's face it, people don't get along. And maybe we should look at the low level consciousness of the human race, who doesn't seem to be able to do anything except kill each other. And of course, that's what we spend all our money on. We don't have giant hospitals and ways of taking care of ourselves so we can live longer, but we certainly have trillions invested in how to kill each other. This, of course, you could say that the human species has no consciousness at all. And what they do have is really messed up consciousness. So when you have the dragon force effect, you run into the major change in technologies. So, of course, you got to remember that scalar radionics have always been consciousness, or what we could say is psychic machines. Now, there's a difference between psychic and consciousness. Now, psychic is just a thought form, and most of the primitive radionic people work off of thought forms. They're a low-level primitive energy that they're putting into these machines. Radionic machines in general are nothing more than psychic tuners. Nothing happens in them. There's nothing going on with them in terms of moving energies. So there's nothing electromagnetic certainly going on with a radionic type machine. They are all consciousness machines working off your psychic energy. But consciousness is a step above psychic energy. You know, everybody has a low level of psychic energy. It's really not very strong, and few people can really perform at a high level, which is why so much of it tends to fail. Psychic powers is not something everybody can do. And certainly those using consciousness is not something that everybody can do. So it's a complete way of thinking, operating, and projecting when you get up to this kind of dragon force reality. So our new Dragon Force unit is going to be coming out very soon. And you have to train yourself. I mean, you know, really advanced technology requires training. I mean, people generally go to multiple classes, get degrees, etc., in computer science, or you're going to have to learn how to use a computer. And people spend hours and hours learning it, and then you have to keep learning it because you're going to have to learn what's going on with that particular program that you're using. So computers are always something that you're kind of working with and have to kind of adapt to. Now, it is pretty much with that kind of machine that it requires you to push buttons and it follows. Now, when you get involved in Dragon Force energies, you're talking about something that follows what you send into it through your consciousness. As I said, in this day and age, to actually say through your thought forms or psychic power is really giving it a low level explanation. Your consciousness is much more than that. Your consciousness envelops your whole being, not just a little projection from what is considered psychic powers. So your whole being is made as a complicated energetic system that can adapt itself to just about everything if you know what you're doing. And now, machines, of course, are operating at a what we would consider at this point a very low conscious level. But if you can get your consciousness into a machine, and the machine can then sense it and use that energy at a higher level, it will be starting to do things that are quite different than what it was actually made for. It's going to internally adjust and do what you want it to do because you are working in the consciousness realm. So I hope everybody understands that, because we're not talking about simplistic things here. We're talking about a machine that is helping you in life, helping you reach higher success. They're working with fields that are not what we consider physical, protection fields, success fields, harmonizing your entire well-being. Spiritual heights, knowledge heights, ascension heights. Well, these are not things that machines in general can produce. So that's why you add your consciousness to them. But this is kind of a low level. So the Dragon Force reality is the fact that you are now sending a very strong energy directly into the core of the machine, and as such, the core of the machine is able to now work at a higher level. It communicates with you. It understands what you're trying to do, and as such starts to put out energies for your desires, because that's what we're doing with very advanced electronic scalar radionic machines. Now, radionics is kind of, as I said, an old world reality there. It never was very effective. It is, again, a psychic tuner, and it tends to work on the placebo effect as well. So you would psychically tune into something, put your thought form in there, and you would then project that either at yourself or someone else. But the process of the energies that those machines put out is comically zero. It's nothing more than a psychic tuner. So you turn a bunch of dials and you say, well, I want money. And then things start to happen in your life. Well, this is classic positive thinking, visualization, etc. And we can't, of course, ignore this and say that it is not a powerful force. It is. And as I've mentioned for many, many times, William Bengston, a guy who was in dumbademia for many years, has been for over 30 years using thought forms and to cure people of everything, including horrific diseases. This is mind-boggling. And he has documented this for over 30 years and continues to be real successful using a simple, what's considered speed visualization. I call it Rolodex visualization, where you spin the images of really what you desire. And this is the kind of cycling, as he calls it, that he gets great success with. So we can't ignore this. So this is really proof that there really is psychic thought form energies. But when you're not using a machine, or even if you are using his technique, it's still very low level. Now, when you start capturing your consciousness energies, high level thought forms, all of these put together is a very complicated and dense informational energetic field. This has to be captured and moved if you want to amplify it so that you can manifest much faster. Then you need to use special technology, things like lasers, things like what I've invented with tube amplification and using the unique resonance that a tube-based electronics gives you. Because when we get into tubes, we get into this fuzzy reality. The tubes are conscious, they are alive, or they can at least pick up a certain resonance. So, this is quite different than going through all solid state as well. So, there are many factors to reach the Dragon Force effect. The Dragon Force effect is the first step in entering and working with machines of all types at a much higher level. Eventually, you'll be able to communicate with machines that do a lot more. But when you're working with things like protection energies, success, all of these things are energetic informational fields that are not copied through dashes and dots. This is not something of a low level, me thinky and write as codey. And of course, this is exactly what's happening with most people and most codes. But there is another level as we move ahead into the really the Dragon Force reality, which is the future. So we want machines that will do what we tell them to do in a non-physical reality. Now, many machines or robot, you'll be able to clean your house, do whatever, to a certain level, but they're still not dealing with these very unique energetic fields, informational energetic fields. They're packed with data. So you can't really move these in any other ways than using tubes and lasers. Putting in a rate, which is what radionic practitioners do in a dial machine, putting numbers in a dial and only having one series of them is quite primitive. We're finding out that you need at least a set of 3 9 rate numbers or 27 numbers to start moving into higher levels and faster levels of manifestation. And of course, this all comes under the manifestation science field, which is a very important field because life really comes down to manifesting. So whether that's consciousness, whether that's manifesting high levels of success, high levels of harmony, physical harmony, no matter what it is, it's really manifesting. You can be the most highly trained, best person, but if you can't manifest a channel to actually use that, then you again have failed. It really doesn't matter. So the fact of having a manifesting machine, which will be something that everyone has and not too far future, we already have these manifesting machines. We have handheld units and, of course, big units. And you see one in front of you, the Dragon Force unit right here. This creates the Dragon Force. The Dragon Force is the reality that where you combined with the actual machine, and this is the most groundbreaking thing in science that's ever happened, I think, since science, and certainly since technology. Because anybody can build a machine. As humans, we have the capacity because of because of hands and feet, is that we're able to make tools. With these tools, we make machines because ultimately mankind is an extremely weak species and also mentally weak, which has been one of the problems. But compared to almost any other animal out there who are pretty much extremely advanced in whatever it is they do, whether it's a dolphin or a bear or an elephant or even a little robin bird, the bottom line is that these animals are very effective at what they do. And you can say that mankind is what? Well, let me get my shoes, my coat, my socks. Let's get in a vehicle to go. I mean, we have to be assisted with everything because we are so weak. So we have moved past that to a degree because we've invented all this stuff. And then, of course, we have to manufacture it all. And of course, we have to pull things out of the earth like metals and melt them and then form them. This is quite advanced, but also in itself extremely primitive. Now, once we get to a certain level with technology, we want to move into the Dragon Force effect. And that is the fact that the machine is connected to your consciousness through this process. So the machine has a consciousness. We're not using the higher levels of machine technology because we have to go in there at an energy level. This is pretty much what you'd call a subatomic energy level. And that energy level cannot be accessed by common technologies. So basically what you're doing if you're using a machine, particularly for the purposes that we're talking about, a manifesting machine, is that unless you know what you're doing and have specially structured and built machines, then you are unable to access that much higher level. And that's really what machine technology ultimately is meant to be, an assist to your consciousness, your human. Now, the machine does not work on its own or does what it wants to. It does what you direct it to. But there is a consciousness there. The machine will kind of understand the energy it's making and how effective it is. So if you're putting in all these energies for a particular success or for protection, and of course you've got your own energy going in there, your consciousness energy, which combines so many things and so many energetic fields. I mean, you as a human species are loaded with these energetic fields that are in and around you. So they're ones that the body produce. But you got to remember that we're working with scalar energies. These are non-electromagnetic energies, and they are not come under the influence of magnetism. Uh, this is the primitive level. Now, scalar energy creates electromagnetism. So there is a blending there to a degree. But you are sending scalar information into a machine right through all the parts in there. You're sending the scalar energy directly into the tubes, into their transistors, into all the parts that are inside of there. Whether they're capacitors or resistors or whatever else are in all these different electronic machines. I mean, they're loaded with all sorts of little components. So your energy will then go to the machine. The machine will then transfer it through its system to send the energy out that you desire. So it's going to, first of all, it's going to amplify your basic consciousness energies. And of course, that's what these amplifiers have been doing for years. Anybody who's smart enough to use this kind of tech instead of using some really box of garbage that pretty much is out there from all these other people, or thinking that some sort of chip in a computerized machine, which is programmed to do only produce random numbers or numbers in general, this is still just a machine function. You're not connecting to the consciousness of the machine. Now, the consciousness of the machine and the way it was constructed and built, people, every part that goes in here, somebody has an energy that they're in there. They are making something for a particular purpose, to function as, in this particular case, as we see, a large amplifier. And they're amplifying it in unique ways. When you have a tube amplifier, you kind of have this fuzzy logic, which is why tubes take music and make it sound so much better, because it's picking up a resonance. This is not a particular energy. A resonance is something that's kind of what we would call, when things started out this way, was kind of a fuzzy logic, meaning the fact is that the machine itself is making decisions of how it handles the energy going through it. So this is what's so amazing about the Dragon Force effect. And of course, this is the ultimate effect, and we continue to build more and more technology to feed energies in. As I said, first, it's feeding energy in through a USB, through a particular tube USB-based unit with a lot of specialized computer information on there. Now, it's not classic computer stuff. There's a lot of tones, music, images, etc., and these are placed in there, and when you're using a USB, it tends to keep what we produce or put on that USB through the tube effect as well. It keeps it in more of a scalar field instead of having the crude, well, what's on there? Well, the point is, what's on there is not going to assist you. So if you take the information off of the USB, that's only a part of it. We have scalarly charged into the tube here all sorts of information to connect to the subatomic realities or the consciousness of the machine itself. So there is all sorts of information, human-based information, that the machines can understand at a subatomic level, creating this energy field to flow through it. And of course, the machine then picks up even more, and it uses it particularly through tubes. If you're not using vacuum tubes, you've missed the boat. And of course, people that use a lot of this primitive junk make up all sorts of stories, but basically they have horrific failure rates. The whole idea is to get amplified And that's the whole idea of using big tube amplifiers. Amplify your scalar energies to produce very strong informational energetic fields with the help of the machine, not just the slave of the machine. The machine will assist you with this new technology to make sure you're putting out the strongest possible scalar field for manifesting that can be created. This is awesome, which means as all this technology kicks in, it means that you will be able to break through horrific blockages. You will be able to manifest probably in a tenth of the time. These are all the things that people have problems with. The other thing, of course, is the fact that you have to use the right tech. We're also going to be using, as we have over here, particular lasers, which will be using optic cables to then send the energy yet again directly into the core of the machine in photon light energy. Do you understand how powerful that is? But we're not worried about the transistors and the capacitors and all the other resistors, whatever's in all these different machines by the bucketful, going through circuit boards and everything else. We are working with the machine at their consciousness level, and your consciousness is blending with machine consciousness, creating a third force, the dragon force effect, and you are able to manifest your desires. Now, as this grows and everything else, it will become more and more powerful. But we have to get past that. We need to be able to manifest what we want in life. Life is getting tougher and tougher. And of course, all these manifesting machines that are out there, regardless of what they are, and there are hundreds of different types, and there's been for over 100 years radionic type machines, and there are many, many people that manufacture these. A lot of people don't understand how many companies were manufacturing these at the turn of the century of the 1900s. All of these are trying, and of course, we want to break through the higher energetic levels to sustain harmony so that we don't have any kind of physical disharmony, mental disharmony, and we want to be able to program our harmonic body to live indefinitely. And this is one of the major things that this technology can do as well. So we'll be able to program your essence with the help of machine consciousness and yours together. And remember, this is a combining process. The machine by itself does what it's supposed to do, that it was designed to do. That's very low level, and it's not really what we're trying to amplify. These amplifiers were made to amplify sounds, but we're not using sounds in their pure state. We're using informational energetic fields, or scalar energies, non-electromagnetic energy fields, to create and interact with the world we're living in. Once this is achieved to this high level and we get the dragon force effect, you are at the optimum of everything. It's mind-blowing, amazing, etc. And it's quite a process. Not only do you have to put the right information in, you have to make the proper templates, which has all the things in it that we offer, and we have videos on that. Not only do you have to do that, but obviously you have to have a delivery system. If you're going to send non-electromagnetic energies through basically metal wires to get into the machine, well, you're kind of doing things silly. So you have to do things at a very high level, and you have to use direct input. So as I said, we've used the discs, which have numbers and other things on them, similar to this, which has a radionic code. You have all these other energies because there's multiple pictures here. And of course, we also use tones and special frequencies there of a scalar nature to send this very complicated informational energetic thought form into the unit. So it's all well and good to do that with discs working from the outside in, but we want to work from the inside out. We want to connect to the machine consciousness, and we've done it. This is amazing. So the whole idea is that we are now doing this by using basically optic cables, which are nothing new, but optic cables with lasers, very important. People, if you're not using lasers and other things, you've missed the boat. The other thing you want to do is to use the unique USB inputs, and we have a new unit that we're going to be using with that as well, but this is one of our first model levels and very potent in itself. So what you're doing, and you're going to use both, you're going to use the photon effect and the basically USB effect to actually enter in from the inside out. All these energies penetrate every single chip in there, every single diode, every single capacitor, every single parts that's in there. This energy will enter into and get working in a get and connect to the machine consciousness, which then will be able to use this information for your benefit, which is the whole idea anyway. Machines are based to fulfill what you need. That's why they're made, and they understand that. That's part of their consciousness, that they have a particular purpose in life, and you have to then customize that purpose. The dragon force effect goes in and tells them, I want to draw success to me. I want to draw higher well-being. I want to draw energies that will make me live longer. I want to reach higher states. Now, these are not things you can write in code. And that's the problem with code. Code will never get to that level. That's a fallacy. You have to work with the core, the soul, the consciousness of the machine, and combine it with your consciousness for a particular goal. So hopefully everybody's understood this. I'm not the only one who's talked about this, and how machines tend to be conscious, and how people have been able to affect, like random number generators, which are supposed to click 1 and 2, 1 and 2, and they always click the same amount. Maybe these are supposed to be coordinated, 50% of one, 50% of two. But we found that, and this has been documented in studies, that you mind can affect this. You can have the machine do what you desire it to do, and that's a way of proving it in a very primitive way. So this is not something that is impossible. We've just controlled and are using complicated, advanced consciousness energies to actually communicate with the actual soul of the machine. So it's soul to soul contact for instructing it in to work for what you desire. And as I said, these are not to do a particular task, to click this or produce that or turn it on or turn it off. That's not what it's meant to do. The bottom line is that this type of technology is very much geared towards these kind of subatomic energy fields that are difficult to define in general. And that is for success, love, etc. So this has been done for thousands of years, and people have projected these energies. But they've never been basically machine enhanced. The start was trying to dial energies like this using primitive old radionics. But old radionics, they never really used anything that was, particularly the originators from Drown to Abrams, who basically failed every time they were tested, but they were using energies for particularly communicating with the biophysical of another person, sending out their thought forms to actually enhance the well-being of that person, to harmonize them. Now, this kind of stuff obviously can work, but it is very primitive. But that's what it was used initially for. Now, the advanced practitioners of all this are using it for their success, their protection, their getting to higher consciousness, to bring in a high state of wisdom, well-being, etc. So if you wanted to manifest a better idea, you would tell that through the process to do that. And the machine would then go in there and figure out, well, what can I amplify using my consciousness to assist this process? And this is how it all works. And it's quite staggeringly powerful. We are moving ahead with all of this stuff. Our new Dragon Force unit will be out relatively soon. We still have a few little bits and pieces to complete, but it is pretty much there. And we will be able to continue to work on this and improve the manifesting capacity. Now, this has never been done. Everybody's still doing the same old nonsense. The junk that's out there in this world, either whether it's plain electronics, which is really not utilizing that energy field the way it should be. And that's what any kind of electronics is. It's an electromagnetic energy field. But there are a lot of other things going on which are ignored. And the fact is, as we pour our consciousness into a particular machine, we start to awaken the machine's consciousness, which is created through this electromagnetic process and all the different components inside of it, creating it's alive. Like piecing together Frankenstein's monster. Dr. Frankenstein pieced together from other parts to create a different type of being. Now, we're doing the same thing if you want to piece together a machine to create a particular product to do something, whether that's a phone or a computer or a toaster, whatever it may be. This is creating an energetic consciousness, and that consciousness performs a task unless something happens to it. So it's designed to do tasks. Now, when you have a machine like a phone or a computer that can do many tasks, this is where things get quite interesting, because then this is a higher level consciousness of something other than a toaster, which is made just to heat coils. So this is quite fascinating, quite powerful, as we're now talking to the soul to soul contact. And to think that you're the only one that has a soul, and only special people have souls, and animals don't have souls, and this does. Everything has energy. Everything is conscious. And the scientists that want to struggle what is consciousness really don't understand anything. Of course, they don't understand anything. They've been brainwashed through idiot schools of stupidity to come out to be the biggest stooge of them all. And they have a piece of paper that certifies that they're the biggest stooge of all. This is when we still stutter, we cannot achieve higher levels now past this very common level. I think everybody's kind of felt, if you have a machine of all different types, that you find that you bind with it, that you become one with it. Now, warriors do this all the time. You become one with the bow and arrow. You become one with the gun. These are things that, of course, when it comes down to life and death, man is pushing its consciousness into even things that are less conscious, like pure mechanical devices, like you get with a gun or something. But there's still a functioning there. And why does a gun work most of the time and then sometimes not? Well, it could be several factors, but there is a level there of people try and communicate with a soul to soul, human machine to regular machine, and we have consciousness to consciousness. To be arrogant to think somehow humans are special, well, I don't know what humans are special at except murdering each other and deviant acts. They certainly have not shown to be a conscious or evolved species. We could say that an electronic device, particularly like the one you're looking at, is extremely evolved. It has a task, and it does it 24/7 for almost indefinitely. Generally, machines, if they're made right, or electronics in general, can last you many, many years. Now, there may be factors of things wearing down and they don't work for one reason or another. Well, this is kind of like your consciousness aging as well. As a machine ages, it ages like a human. And as humans get old and die, machines get old and die. Just another correlation which seems to make sense. So all of it is the next level. The Dragon Force effect is here. You will be able to obtain this very soon. You'll be on the cutting edge of the most powerful technology ever offered. And we will be taking people into this special buyer's club, so to speak, and training you in every single aspect. These machines not only, as I mentioned, will help you with common things like finances and basic things such as that, but it will help you with protection and even bring you to a state of high consciousness and assist you in ascending to the next realm of reality. These machines will help you ascend. You could say they are really consciousness ascension machines. They're ascending you to higher levels. You're functioning at higher levels. And when you use this technology and you understand how it works and you start doing a lot of things that are required to get this machine to work better and better, guess what is happening to you? Your consciousness is growing and growing. This is, again, the very interesting synergistic reality. You take care of the machine, one hand washes the other, you take care of it, you treat it properly, you keep it clean, you change its tubes, and it rewards you. You are the father. So it is consciousness to consciousness, and these machines will then work better for you. The actual components inside at a subatomic level, at an energetic level, you'll be moving massive amounts of energy through it. This cannot happen with the machine alone. You also can't happen to machines that do not have tubes in them. If you're not using vacuum tubes, you can't get the same effect either. This is all part of it. Vacuum tubes are a fascinating component into themselves, and we will be talking about that in